we're going to get started here today. Okay. Today we have with us Juliet. Did I say your name right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, Juliet, what we're talking about today is the sacred union between the bridge between sex and the spirit. Okay. So, it's very, very important as an empowered leader to be at your best in all ways. Okay. So, when our sexual energy and our spiritual life connects, something profound unfolds. Okay? Healing, alignment, presence, and truth. This bridge between sex and spirit invites us to reclaim our wholeness in body, in relationship, and in leadership. Okay? So today we have someone that talks about these things, okay? And we have Juliet, and she's going to talk about this today, okay? Along with the name of her publication. Can you introduce yourself today to us?
Yes. Hi, Margaret and everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We're excited to have this conversation. We're excited to be part of a growing movement of people interested in exploring the intersection of sex and spirit. So thank you for joining and eager to hear what you all have to say. My name is Juliette Lamontagne, and Margaret and I met because I published a Substack called Touch Me There, in which I explore the power of midlife and all the beautiful transformations that it can be. Sometimes people get very stuck in midlife, particularly women going through menopause. And my Substack is simply the one woman's journey through that transition, through not just the physical changes to the body, but the changes to my own personal relationship. I'm a mother of two now grown children, but this has been a many-year journey, and I wanted to share the story with other folks. So I'm a humble writer and journeyman who has a story to tell, and I think that it opens up a conversation that not enough people are having and exposed to, about coming back to our body and the truth of our bodies and the spirit that we all hold within. So that's what I mean. I have a background in education, and I was a business consultant for many years, but I've kind of moved away from that world and am transitioning into what I think of as the most important phase of my life. Most purposeful, certainly.
I know that's right. So when we talk about all of these things, okay, before we talk about sex, okay, do we want to talk about seduction or desire? Which one do you think should be first?
I think desire.
Okay, all right. Well, when you talk about desire, it's in relation to sex, is energetic impulse or longing that draws two people together. It's not only physical attraction, it's a life force, like libido, okay? And so seeking connection, expression, and creation, okay? And so desire awakens curiosity, desire, and the urge to merge with another or with life itself, okay? So you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, the reason that I suggest starting with desire is that it begins within. It's a one person job. It begins within. And so for me personally, I was for so many years so caught up in tending to other people, tending to my family, tending to everybody else's needs, that I wasn't really in touch with my own desire. And it took, as it is true for many people, a tremendous crisis. For me, this was a personal crisis in my family as a result of my husband relapsing into addiction and kind of the whole family unit breaking apart as a result of that. Other people face this crisis through medical issues. It really could be, it could be a spiritual crisis, really any form of crisis that brings you into yourself to ask why. That interiority is really the heart of desire, because you have to be tuned in to your own self and your own, um, I think of it as inner God,
Mhm.
to lead you forward. So you can think of it as longing, you can think of it as desire. It often comes through as a sexual impulse or even just a bodily impulse. Like for me personally, I started to feel things bodily that I wouldn't necessarily have called desire at that time, because I wasn't necessarily looking for a sexual partner. But as that continued to expand, and I will kind of make a side note here that I started when I was 50 years old, seeking out psychedelic assisted therapy. And it was in that medicine work, as it's known, that the kind of armor that we all wear, that we've kind of suited up through the first half of our lives, that armor started to come off. And it was really then that I was started to access my inner core, which again links to that desire, which then extends into the realm of seduction. So it really, to bring it back to the point I was making initially, it really begins as an inside job. And I had to strip off all of the layers of armor that I'd been wearing for so many years in order to access it.
It's funny that you talk about that. Now let's talk about how trauma impacts a person's ability to have sex or even orgasm for that matter.
Absolutely. And so here I'm by no stretch an expert. I don't have any credentials in the realm of sex therapy or sexological body work. But I have been a participant of it. I am very fortunate to be among really the smaller fraction of women who have not suffered some kind of sexual trauma. Um, and unfortunately, that is the truth for so many women. And it prevents a tremendous barrier to pleasure, to accessing all of the beauty and grace that comes from moving that eros in your body. So I talk about the armor of all the dysfunctions of my particular life, but I recognize very well that some people's armor was literally to physically protect them from violation. And that's like a whole nother layer of armor. I think it's worth mentioning that there is and I say this because not enough people realize there is a profession, and it is a profession that is certified with an association, a credentialing association. It's called sexological bodywork. There are sexological body workers out there who are specialized in working with de-armoring people who have suffered sexual violation, sexual assault. And this is God's work. These people are transforming lives. It's not talk therapy, because the harm didn't come by way of words. The harm came to the body. They work through and with the body. It is just a profound gift to the world, and I just want more people to know that there is access to, think of them like body workers, like you would go to a massage parlor kind of thing. But this is working with sexual energy and working with trauma in the body. And I've had many sessions of this type of work with several different providers, not because I had sexual trauma, but I was dealing with some other things. But it is transformative work to be able to move that sexual energy through the body through hands-on work. And to be clear, it's only one-way touch. The practitioner touches you, but you're not allowed to touch them back. So it's if a portrait of prostitution is being painted in your mind, that's not what this is. It really is a very intentional, beautiful practice that I hope people will seek out if this is sounding interesting and resonant. If you are hearing in this a sense, feeling in this, feeling, not thinking, but feeling in this something stirring, like there is something moving in me and I don't have access to it, whether it's because I feel I'm stuck in menopause or I'm stuck in a marriage where I no longer feel attracted to my partner, or I have suffered some kind of sexual assault and I haven't been able to get through it or past it despite years of therapy. Seek out this modality. It has so much to offer.
Yes, and it's obvious too that a lot of people that suffer from these trauma are unable to have an orgasm at all. You
Yes,
know,
it's true.
it's like a block. When you get ready, it's like,
Yeah,
and
no, it's true.
it just flashes back this trauma that was done to you, and you deserve to unlock that to become your best self. Okay, because our sexuality is a part of who we are, a part of becoming this wholeness, returning to wholeness.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah. And I would add to that that as we get older, and as if you're open to expanding your definition of sexuality and intimacy, you realize that orgasm isn't the only game in town. It's not necessarily the end goal. And there's a whole realm of intimacy that can be explored. And I have found it tremendously powerful to explore a framework that was designed by a woman named Betty Martin, and it's called the Wheel of Consent. And the Wheel of Consent is a way of playing with a partner across 4 dimensions, where you actually take turns serving touch, accepting touch, and then reverse, and taking touch and allowing touch and then reverse. And these are 4 distinct ways of touching and receiving touch. It sounds abstract, but I highly recommend that people look at a book called The Art of Receiving and Giving, because this is a whole realm of intimacy that isn't necessarily about penetrative sex. It's about deepening to pleasure. It's about um, creating safety through boundaries, through explicit discussion of boundaries and respect for boundaries. And in that, you really deepen into yourself first and foremost, because it's turn taking and you're no longer attached to what the other person is experiencing. You're dropping into, with great mindfulness, your own experience of whatever quadrant, whichever of those 4 quadrants you're working at that time. So that's a really powerful tool that isn't about sexual intercourse. It's about intimacy and what can transpire between 2 people.
What you're talking about is establishing trust, and that is the
Mhm.
foundation of all relationships.
Absolutely. I would also say that when you start to explore the side of the wheel of consent that's about taking and allowing, um, there's a certain shadow aspect, if you will. So the kind of darker side of our psyche that gets repressed and hidden away from our conscious thought has the opportunity to come forward and express itself explicitly. So if I'm asking to take a certain thing from you that's for my pleasure, I may have felt ashamed to ask for that for my whole life. But here I am in the circle of trust, finally able to ask for what I want to take from you. And of course, it's only consensual, only under the conditions of consent. Would you perhaps allow me to take that touch? And now imagine what that feels like for me to be seen in my perceived darkness, whatever that darkness was, whatever that shadow, that shame was that I was holding back all these years. To stand in the light of that with my partner is a tremendous spiritual awakening, an
Mhm.
opening, a deepening of trust, a being seen, that none of this fits into the box of what I was raised with in Catholicism, but this is my definition of spirit. Like like being seen in that love light is absolutely um how I define a spiritual awakening.
I am so glad that you mentioned this because looking back, we emulate our parents, okay? Because they are our role models, okay? And so leading by example, they're not necessarily paying attention to how these things are playing out and how we are internalizing all of these things, the arguments, them sleeping in separate bedrooms. They think that they're really miserable together and they think that they're saving the kids, and the kids is like, is this a normal relationship looks like?
Mm-hmm.
And then they start modeling their own relationships after what their parents did, this dysfunction. You're not saving those kids staying in a miserable relationship. Those kids are miserable too.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what you do instead, you all go to counseling or you just end the relationship because you're destroying those kids' lives.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Yeah. If you're not satisfied, what make you think the kids is satisfied? What make you think it's adequate for these kids?
Yeah.
And then
No, it's
then you
true.
wonder why these kids having so many issues with their own sexuality, and because they're confused. They like, I don't know what I am. You know what I'm saying? I see you doing this and you doing that. And then, you look around, we have to have positive role models for our kids, okay?
Yeah, we
Uh,
we pass on these relational dynamics, and I really believe it's our responsibility as adults to do this work. And there's kind of an opportunity that we all go through at midlife. I think it does often visit us in midlife to say, these are patterns that I no longer want to perpetuate. And I personally have taken responsibility for doing the work, for challenging myself to do what is uncomfortable, to face the all the ways that I was part of the problem of. It's easy to point the finger at an addict, right? My husband and his addiction, it's easy to point the finger. But in fact, I was a part of that dysfunction. Of course, it absolutely took the reckoning with myself and my own responsibility, cleaning up my side of the street, as they say, for us to have reconciled, and for him to obviously have found recovery in a deep and meaningful way. We each had to kind of go our separate paths, do that work individually so that we could find a way back to each other, which we did quite remarkably. Um, so I'm a big proponent of long-term relationships, and only if you're willing to look at why you were chosen to awaken each other, like why the pain that you elicit in each other is your curriculum. That's where you're here to learn. And if you don't show up for the lessons, then you're just going to remain in the suffering. But I can just say from my personal experience that I feel lighter in myself, more harmonious in my relationships, and more connected to God and spirit than I ever have in my entire life. Having gone through the struggles that I have, and have shown up for the lessons, and taken the wisdom of so many wise women, that women and men, but largely women, who've guided me through, whether it was the psychedelic assisted therapy or the sexological body work. These were incredibly wise women who had walked the path before me. And so it was kind of opening myself and humbling myself to their wisdom that led me here to be talking to all of you today.
Amazing journey. Amazing. So, one of the other things is that I traveled through Europe. Okay, I was over in Würzburg and Wiesbaden when I was working, and one of the first things I experienced was the spas, and I was shocked. Everybody was walking around in the spas naked. It's like emperor's no clothes. It's like, and then I was all hung up. It's like, get over yourself. Americans, we are hung up on sex. We are just, you know. in our bodies. And so what we need to do when we come into ourselves, our body is the temple, okay? And we deserve pleasure. We deserve happiness. We deserve joy. And we deserve to have an orgasm. Okay? So you go through your whole life because you're going through the church and they tell you, well, you're not allowed to have this pleasure. You're not allowed to dance. You're not allowed to watch TV. You're not allowed. By the time you get through listening to everything, you done took the enjoyment out of everything. You can't enjoy nothing in life. You got to sit in this box in the darkness and act like life doesn't exist. Life is passing you by. Everybody else is enjoying life and enjoying all the pleasures of life while you're sitting there contemplating and wondering why your life is in the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah. I think that we would do well to borrow from each other's joy and life force energy. And I love the example of the spa. And I have a piece in my Substack, Touch Me There. The title of the essay is, what is the title of the essay? Bathhouse Feminism is the title. And the idea of it is, it's what you're talking about. It's when we come together, in this case, as women, in an environment where we are fully exposed, fully unrobed, fully de-armored, we are in our nudity, in our sacred bodies, there's an opportunity to really say, like, what a beautiful thing that there's this elderly woman with her eros where it is and how whatever that is for her, and this young woman who's in the height of her fertility and is just thriving with a different kind of eros, and me in midlife with my menopausal whatever. And we're all at different places. We all have different types of eros, different types of life force energy swirling through us. But like, it's not ours just because it's in our body. Like, we're all connected. So I love this idea of like just sipping from a communal well of each other's life force energy. Like when I see someone, I just want to drink that in, whether it's their joy, their vitality, their creativity. Take it in, let it nourish me if I need it, and let me share it with you when I'm in a state of abundance. And in that way, like, we're just kind of part of this communal pool. And that's why I love the metaphor of the bathhouse. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes. And so when I went back to the United States, everybody all hung up and stuck up. And I'm like, get over yourself. There's so much enjoyment in life, and we're letting life pass us by while we're sitting at the bus stop. The world's passing us by. Okay. They're enjoying their life. They living their best life. So why not live your best life? What you got to lose? Okay. Like I told this person before, I want to smell my flowers while I live. I don't give a damn about those flowers when I'm dead and gone. I can't smell them. I can't see them. I can't enjoy anything. So I'm going to enjoy everything while I'm still here. Okay? Period. Why keep denying yourself simple pleasures or whatever pleasure in life? Okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There it is. What happens? What happens if your husband comes home and say, I got what you call that thing with the not pancreatic cancer, with the thing.
Prostate?
Come in, prostate. He said he has prostate problems, which means maybe he cannot have sex anymore. So you got to figure it out. Okay, how you pleasure yourself? Go to a sex shop. Hey, go in there. Say, this is what you may not know what you like. Figure it out.
Figure
Okay?
it out.
If you
Yeah.
figure it out, if you can't pleasure yourself, how you gonna pleasure someone else? Okay?
Right. And
How
so
you gonna how
this
you gonna
takes
tell
us
the
back.
other person what you
Right.
like if you don't know yourself? It's like the blind leading the blind. You guys standing there looking at each other like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to start with desire and not seduction, right? Because you have to
Okay?
start with yourself and like
Right.
listening to your own longings. Like, first you just have to get quiet, right? In order to go within, you have to get quiet and listen to those longings. Where are they taking you? Where are they directing you? Where are they drawing you toward? Whether it's nature or art or song or Like these impulses are meant to draw you out toward whatever that source of desire, whatever's going to feed that desire further. So getting quiet and listening within, so important.
Exactly. You're going to be shamed. This is not the time or the place. Get over it. Okay.
Well, not
No,
at
it's
our
not.
ages, I would say. No. Like
No.
that's
If I,
we're done with that
no.
story.
Okay.
Done telling that story.
Exactly. Exactly. Wake up. Wake up. Okay. Pleasure yourself before you can pleasure others. Okay. And then everybody happy. Everybody feels fulfillment, happiness, and joy. Okay, that's a part. When we look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that's part of belongingness. Okay,
Mhm.
we all want to feel this belongingness. We want and we deserve that. Okay, period. If you can't find somebody else to pleasure you, pleasure yourself. That's where it should start anyway. Okay.
Mhm. Yep. I agree with you.
So what's the next one? We talked about desire, and then we talked about intimacy, correct?
Mhm. And I think
Okay, so
your point about seduction, for me, I really want to encourage people to play with seduction across those 4 quadrants, like asking for what you want. How often do you ask for what you want? And then when it's given to you, how well are you able to receive it? That's a whole nother lesson to be learned. It's both hard to know what we want, one, hard to ask for what we want, two, and then when you get it, hard to receive it. So there's a lot of work to do there to seduce yourself first and foremost.
absolutely figure out what that is. Like you're in a relationship, when it's new, you know, you come with the flowers, the music, setting the tone, everything that you went through to begin that relationship, you have to do to keep it, to maintain it. Otherwise, it's just going to be weeds. It's just going to turn around and it's just going to drift away. Okay, how do you keep it together? Okay, the same thing you did to get it started. Okay,
Mhm.
and people like, oh, honey, can we do this tonight? Oh, I'm tired. I don't feel like it. You keep hearing that all the time. Well, you keep hearing that all the time. Maybe it's some medical conditions. Maybe the person is having an affair. Okay? You have to figure it out. I was desirable at the beginning of the relationship. Now I'm no longer desirable. Well, maybe not. If you don't fix yourself up, if you don't, do the things that you need to do, who is going to want to come home and see you like that? With rollers and all this stuff. So we need to look. It's give and take. Okay, give and take. If you're always taking, you come back, it's nothing to give. You know what I'm saying? Give and take.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we have to be mindful of that. Okay. So what's your thoughts?
I think that we choose our partners to go on a journey, a spiritual journey together. And a lot of people kind of leave the school before they finish the curriculum. And what ends up happening is they just fall into the same curriculum with a different partner. So I would really, I personally am glad that, after 30 years, my husband and I are still together, and we found really what's an entirely new marriage, to be frank. Like, it's just a totally different marriage than what it was founded on when we were young, and it was about passion, and we wanted a family, and checking all the boxes, and starting careers, and all of those pieces that weren't necessarily about being in and with ourselves and growing together as individuals. It was more of a partnership, that we set up in the beginning in kind of dysfunctional ways. So I guess I would just say that, like, these relationships are your teachers, are your curriculum, and there's just tremendous opportunity to learn when you bring awareness to it, especially in a long-term relationship.
Those are the hardest, actually, because you are going through physical, mental, emotional changes, at work, at home, all these other things. And all these things also impacts your relationship. Okay. You had a shitty day at work. You come home, you bring you actually supposed to leave it at work. But all the times we don't. Okay. And you don't realize that you brought it home. And then it affects your relationship at home, because he'll say something, or your partner or whatever will say something, and you just go off, and they have no idea what the hell happened. Like, what the hell happened to you? We
Mhm.
just having a beautiful conversation. All of a sudden, you just going off, and you do this on a regular basis. You say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry," but you keep repeating the same thing over and over and over. So how you're going to break the cycle is that you have to bring your partner in and say, this is what's happening and this is what's going on with me. And so
Mhm.
we don't always do that. We don't always
Mhm.
do that.
Mhm. I'm curious about this question that someone is asking in the chat about taboo, that certain sexual
Okay.
acts are taboo. And when I mentioned before about the shadow, I think this is very much related, right? The things that are, for whatever reason, to ourselves, to our communities, to our partners, taboo. Um, that's a matter of perspective, right? And it's very important in a trusted relationship to be able to surface what these taboo topics, what our perception of taboo topics are. That doesn't mean your partner has to consent to whatever that kink or fetish or taboo is. That doesn't mean that they have to go along with it, but this having the safety to be seen in that is just so powerful. And if your partner isn't the right person to be able to see you in what you think of as this kind of taboo or kink desire, um, again, there are sexological body workers, there are people who provide services that provide an outlet for that. And I think it's an incredibly healthy thing to seek an outlet, to alchemize whatever this energy is. It's all energy, and the most dangerous thing is to keep it stuck and locked away. So we want to keep it moving, whatever way, like finding a way to express it, either through our bodies or through dance or through, well, dance is body, through art or whatever it is, like just keep it moving. So I wish I could see the comment on that more fully, but I wanted to at least touch on that because it is such an important thing. We have so many topics that are taboo or ideas that are taboo, and you know, says who? Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's some things that when he talked about that, I don't know if it was he or she, I'm sorry, but there's things like that you find out in the relationship. Uh, well, your mate might like to cross dress at night. Okay, you might have a understanding. Okay, I don't care if you go out there and do that. Okay, it's fine. Okay, you need to have a like a contract with your partner and say, hey, this is something I like to do. And your partner say, well, I don't want that. So you can go do what you want to do and just come on back home or whatever. And then the partner might say, no, I'm not into that. So then you'll have to decide whether you want to be with that person or not. But you should never settle, period.
Mhm.
Okay? This person might tell you, well, I want you to do this. And then he's like, okay, well, my turn. You're like, no, I'm not going to do that. So it's like, okay, you need to come up front and say, this is what I like and this is what I want. And this is what I like and this is what I want. If you can't provide that, then we have to find somebody else. Don't ever settle, because once you settle, that's it. Because then this resentment is going to continue to build up, build up, build up, and eventually you're going to explode, and it's not going to end very nicely. So nip the
Yeah.
shit in the bud, be upfront. This is what I like. This is what I want. If you can't provide that, I got to move on. Next.
Yeah, I think that that's where the wheeled consent provides such a nice framework because it is so Safe. I mean, the boundaries are explicit. Everything is asked for explicitly. Turns are taken, so it's clear who's doing the acting and who's doing the receiving of the touch. So it's just a really beautiful, safe framework that I highly recommend people check out, especially if you have what you consider more taboo desires that you want to be seen and expressed. Even just to be seen, it doesn't necessarily have to be acted on, but to be seen in that desire would be a powerful thing.
Absolutely. And another thing is, if the sex is hurting you, speak up. Okay, because how the other person's supposed to know they're hurting you? Okay, speak up. Say no. That's it. Okay. And if you want something, ask for it. If they can't provide it to you, then you got the wrong partner. Okay. Because if I can give and I can't receive, then I don't need you. Okay. I don't need you at all. Period.
Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, we are conditioned in our particular culture to accept these dynamics that are unhealthy or painful, uncomfortable for whatever reason. So many people are not comfortable, safe, empowered to speak up for themselves. So, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
It's very important to understand it because when you grow up in an abusive childhood, you think that abuse is just normal. It's not normal.
Mm-mm.
Period. Okay, and if you think that's love, it's not love. It's abuse. Plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you deserve better. Don't accept that. I'd rather be alone for the rest of my life than to be with. You can be in a relationship and still be alone. So why not just be alone? You can do bad by yourself. You don't need help for that. Okay?
Well,
And don't
yes,
accept that. I'm
yes,
sorry, go
and
ahead.
I don't think you necessarily have to be in a romantic relationship to work some of these things out. As I mentioned, there are these sexological body workers that provide this incredible service. So be in relationship to someone who can hold space for you and your trauma. Be in relationship to someone who can help you rewrite those scripts. Um, this is I really believe that we are on the dawn of a whole new realm of sexual health and healing as more people become exposed to this type of work.
You just have to speak up. Okay? Speak up. People cannot read your mind. That's it. Okay? Because when I was a kid, I had to stay quiet. I'm not staying quiet. You're not if you're hurting me or offending me in any way, uh, I'm gonna speak the hell up. Period.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's what you have to do. Okay?
Right.
You have to
Right.
show people how to treat you. Period. Because some people don't know. If they don't know how to treat you, they don't deserve you. Period. Next.
Right.
And so did we cover all of those ones we talked about? Desire, seduction, and all of those, right?
I think so.
So great. So at what point do sexuality become sacred?
The moment that you decide it is to bring your full presence and awareness to that moment is a sacred moment, right? If you're held in the care and in the love of someone or even yourself, that is a sacred moment. Whether you're pleasuring yourself or you're with someone else, it's about presence. That is the sacred moment.
Yes, yes. A sacred moment isn't just merely physical; it is spiritual, and when our intimate connection becomes a portal for transcendent meaning. Okay, and as you said, in practice, we show up fully, being present, treating our sexual exchanges as more than just pleasure, instead as an expression of a deeper self.
I
Right?
have an essay coming out next week where I write about a very sacred sexual moment um, that I had where I actually was able to see that all of what I had perceived as the darkness of my husband was actually his light. That all the things that had um, in our past caused us tremendous suffering were the very things that brought us to that very moment, right? Like if we hadn't have walked this path, we wouldn't be here now. And so it was this moment of deep gratitude and acknowledgement that um, the pain and suffering was part of the awakening. It was that nothing was ever wrong, although it feels so wrong when you're in a state of pain and suffering. It's part of the journey, and it was. I mean, I just encourage people to to check it out. It's coming out Wednesday. Um, to read more about what that sacred moment looked like.
I'll be looking for it. Okay, for sure. Let's talk about why all of this matters as a leader. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so sacred unions invites us to lead not just from your mind, but from a place of integration with the body, the heart, the spirit, and actions aligned. And
yeah. I
by
love that.
choosing this, yeah, right. So by choosing this model for others, that leadership isn't separate from life; it is embodied.
Oh,
Okay,
I
life
couldn't
embodied.
agree more. I couldn't agree more. We are at a place in our species where we're so dominated by that prefrontal cortex, but it is the newest part of the brain, right? There is an ancient part of the brain that is much more intimately connected with the body. So bodily intelligence, tuning into what our body knows is such an important part of leadership today. We cannot any longer go around being led exclusively by our intellect. And I think more people are waking up to this.
Absolutely. So sexual energy, sexual power, and sexuality is embodiment of the uh em- empowered leader. Okay. And so when we have all of these things in place, we can become the best version of ourselves.
Hmm. Yeah.
So does anybody have any questions? I want to see if anybody have any questions. Um, Harry said, isn't it true today that a woman on a fabulous income is less committed to long-term partnerships in the same way uh, of men?
That is true. I mean, I've heard it said, and I think there's some research behind it. I can't cite it, but I think marriage is becoming a less interesting proposition for women in the modern era who are self-sufficient and no longer see that as a benefit to them in the same way that they did years ago. And in fact, I think the life outcomes and health outcomes for women in marriage are not looking as strong as they do for men who are paired. It's to the advantage of men to be paired with a woman, but not necessarily the other way around.
I see a power dynamic, okay, with
Uh,
powerful women that have money. You see it, in relationships.
yeah,
It is what it is. I'd rather have the power and the money and the influence, okay, than the alternative.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So that's where we at today. Um, but let's see. Was there any other comments? Oh, we didn't talk about foreplay. But or did we?
Well,
I think we did.
it's all foreplay if you get away from that kind of the metric of penetrative sex and orgasm being the only sexual experience there is. There's such a tremendous universe of experience to be explored when people are willing to show up for each other with real intimacy and presence.
Which it requires us to use all of our senses, by the way, okay? For the ultimate experience, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's see if we have any other comments here. Complacency breeds content. Relationship needs work to sustain them. Exactly, like a garden. Okay, you got to cultivate and nurture, okay, to get what you want out of it. Intimacy with a partner is deciding if anything is tab. Oh, we read that one. Oh, we talked about the arrangements. Communication is key. Absolutely. Sexuality is communication. Okay, when you have a sex, you communicating non-verbally, and some people are verbal. Whatever, it's all good. Whatever floats your boat. Most people are about what I'm not sure what most people are I guess they don't want to talk about sex. Well, if you don't want to talk about it, how you gonna do it? Okay, that's where it starts. Okay, like I said,
Yeah.
using all your five senses, including verbal. Okay.
Yeah. Again, I think the wheel of consent gives people a framework for having that conversation because it can be hard to know how to ask or what to ask. And also, there are so many great card games now, intimacy card games. Kind of like cards, what's called Cards Against Humanity. Is that what the game is called? It's like that. They're just like little decks of cards and they ask certain questions that you wouldn't necessarily think to ask. Esther Perel has one that I'm thinking of called Where Should We Begin? I think it's called. Anyway, there are a bunch of them out there on the market, and it can be a great way if you're looking to help things along in an intimate relationship. And then using those within the framework of the four quadrants, like I would like to serve you in this way, or can you serve me in this way, or may I take this touch from you, and getting ideas feeding off of some of these prompts would be a great way if people are looking for a place to begin.
Also, there's baby steps. Baby steps. Okay, take your time. Rome wasn't built in a day, so okay. If you don't trust yourself, do that. So, anybody else have any questions? Oh, yeah, definitely. There has to be trust and honesty in any relationship. Otherwise, you don't have a relationship. Okay. I'm not gonna touch that. Um, no, I can't touch that one, Harry. I'm sorry. Um, Harry said. He said foreplay can be a minefield for a guy. I don't know why it has to be that way if you just don't communicate. Okay. A lot of times when I was working overseas, like I said, I didn't understand what was being said because they were speaking in a foreign language. But I can read a person's body language. You read the person's body language, that'll tell you a lot. It'll tell you whether they really want you or not, or whether they want to be bothered or not. And so pay attention to the signs, okay? Not just how you feel, pay attention to that other person. If you're getting some conflicting information, then I would be opening my mouth and asking questions. Do you not find me desirable? Is there a problem here? I want to know what's going on before we go any further, because we may not be going any further. Okay? So pay attention to the signs, people. Pay attention. So do you have anything else, Juliet?
Um,
Final words?
just my final words are to allow your body to be your teacher. We're just so overly reliant on our intellect, and I'm so eager to see people coming back to their bodies for guidance. Um, which again, to reiterate, like getting quiet, turning within, and figuring out what that desire and that longing is trying to awaken you to. For me, it's led me on this incredible journey. Um, so I strongly recommend that to people.
Well, it was a pleasure having you here today. Because when I seen the name of your publication, "Touch Me There," I like, oh man, I think I got to read that. That's a good name, okay? If you don't
I have to
understand,
credit my friend Taggy Amarani who came up with that name. Yep.
that's perfect. Okay, if you don't understand what that publication is about, then something wrong with you.
I'm glad it worked.
Then
Glad you got
I'm
it.
like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I need to come up with something like that. Real clever. I love that. No, I'm gonna keep it. I just wanted to tell you. That's
Thank you.
perfect.
I appreciate that, but
Yes.
I can't take credit for it.
Okay. So the sacred bridge the secret bridge here, okay, is that what we need to do is figure out, the union of sex and the spirit. Okay. And so reach out to your partner or a trusted inner dialogue. I want to explore our connection, not just physically, okay, but also spiritually. And when you do that, you're talking about complete fulfillment, not 25%. Okay. You can keep that. Okay. I can do better than that myself. So, and then I'm serious. So you bring your A game all the time, period, or don't come at all. Okay. So come create a sacred ritual around your next intimate moment. Okay. Set a candle, take a vow, pause, breathe together. Okay. You got to start somewhere. And that's really a good place to start. Okay. Write a note to yourself. What does sacred union mean to me? Okay. Then commit to one micro action this week that honors that meaning. Okay. Or join a circle, coaching call, or a small group that explores embodiment, okay, sexuality and leadership, and bring your whole self, okay? So when you act, you model something powerful. The world needs leaders who live fully, okay? When you bridge body, heart, and spirit in your own relationship and leadership, you open the way for others to follow, okay? Now is the time. Stand on the bridge and lead from your union, and you will lead, uh, explore higher heights together. Who don't want that?
True.
Yeah.
True.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much. It
much.
was my pleasure. And thank you for everyone who joined.
Yes, thank everyone. Thank you all. Bye-bye.